today.
Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Nick Smith.
Mr. Chairman, delighted to have the opportunity to respond to the challenge from Mr. Little. There is only one provision in his bill that is not in the existing regulations, and that is the issue of regulating a minimum temperature in a house. And members on our side of the House say that it is not proper in this bill to regulate a minimum temperature in a house. What Mr. Little needs to go back and check, the housing regulations already requires heating. It is already in the current regulations. Not the regulations from this bill, it is in the current regulations. Heating, ventilation, absence of mould, electrical safety, plumbing integrity, all those things are in the existing regulations. So the Leader of the Opposition does need to do his homework. The second point is this. The member has raised the issue of visibility strips, and it's not our view of the government that it should be illegal to rent a house that has visibility strips. Now, if people want to have them and want to advocate for them, that's fine. But I have to confess, my house doesn't have them. My office doesn't have them. That does not mean an irresponsible parent or homeowner. It is not the sort of thing that should be regulated for, and I'm surprised that Mr. Little is getting his party back into the nanny state routine of saying that visibility strips on all long glass windows must be provided or it will be illegal to rent a house. The third point I want to make in respect of Mr. Little's contribution is that he is mistaken around the issues of insulation standards. And let me take him through it very simply. In 1978, when we first provided compulsory regulations, and do you know that they will provide for that 1978 standard reduces heat loss by 84%. 84%. And in respect of the 2001 standard, took that up to 87%. And no, that's the 2008 standard. Radio. And here's the issue. Why would you want to incur expense of $3,000 to rip out perfectly good insulation to gain only a few percentage points in insulation performance? It does not make sense. It does not stack up to COP benefits. You are going to impose more costs on people than you are going to impose benefits. And that is where members of the Labour opposition live in this world where when you impose regulatory requirements, no one gets the cost. Yes, you do. We're going forwards. In fact, let's just tell you how far we're going forward. Insulated 300,000 homes under
I'm just going to interrupt and sort of admonish the Leader of the Opposition, mainly because the response is coming. It's happening both ways. I remind members not to use the second person. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this bill's provisions around insulation, around smoke alarms, around being able to enforce existing standards, around the abandonment notices and the retaliatory notices is a huge step forward for the standard of residential tenancy agreement. And I just encourage the Parliament to support this bill, to drop the nitpicking and actually focus on what is a big step up in the standard of New Zealand housing.
Carmel Sepuloni.